So hello, everybody. It is me, DemetraKaye. And as you can see here, I am by myself. Walter was supposed to be joining us. I'm not really for sure what's going on. You guys know that we start about 5 Central Time, and it is after that. And so I wanted to go ahead and get started. And so hopefully he joins us soon. If not, you guys are stuck with me for about an hour. And so today we are going to talk about that of Creflo Dollar. Of course, you guys have probably heard a lot about Mr. Creflo Dollar, who is an evangelist or televangelist, as some people may refer to him as. And as you guys know, he made a shocking revelation the other day to his congregation. So we'll get into all of that in just a few. I'd like to say a big giant thank you to YouTube and Facebook, the other side of the conversation. You all are not just viewers, but you are the third co-host, because we read your comments, questions, and concerns as well, because we feel like you should be heard, opposed to just listening to us or me right now run my mouth. I like to hear from you all, and so I will be reading your comments. And I'm sorry if it's a little fuzzy. Hopefully it'll correct itself. It's the internet. So I'm sure that it will clear up in just a few. So who do we have on here? Moni and Brother Reggie, how you doing? And so, as I said, this is usually Wealth Wednesdays with Walter. Hopefully he will come on here. But I'll go ahead and get started for the sake of time, because you guys' time is valuable. I should also say, on the DemetraKaye Show, we promote Black love, knowledge, and understanding of all things that go on in the Black community to make us an even better people, with the emphasis on even, because we are a great people, but we can always do better. And so I will say this: Creflo Dollar, who is 60 years old, and he has a big, giant mega church called World Changers Church in Atlanta, where he has about 30,000, congregants, if you will. So I don't know if that's just in that church or it's all over the world. And so he gets a lot of money per se. Here's Walter.
Hey, what's up, D?
Hi. So as I was saying, Creflo Dollar, he realizes a lot of money. He's been head of the church since 1986. He is worth, from what it says, I thought he would be worth a lot more, but he's worth about $27 million. His wife, Tappy, is worth about $3 million or so. Okay. And so he titled his sermon last Sunday, "The Great Misunderstanding." And I'm going to play a snippet of it from you. But before I get into what I'm going to say, I'm going to put this up so you guys can see and hear exactly what he said that kind of set the whole internet, if you will, on fire. So here we go.
I'm going to start off by saying to you that I'm still growing, and that the teachings that I've shared in times past on the subject of tithing were not correct. And today I stand in humility to correct some things that I've taught for years and believed for years, but could never understand it clearly, because I had not yet been confronted with the gospel of grace, which has made the difference. I won't apologize, because if it wasn't for me going down that route, I would have never ended up where I am right now. But I will say that I have no shame at all at saying to you, throw away every book, every tape, and every video I ever did on the subject of tithing, unless it lines up with this. I've done some corrective teaching in the last 10 years, but not to the degree of what we're getting ready to do now. So why is this important? Because religion is sustained by two factors: fear and guilt. And if it's one subject that the church has used for a long time to keep people in fear and guilt, it is in that subject of tithing. And it has to be corrected. and it's got to be corrected now. I may lose some friends. Preachers may not ever invite me no more, but I think I've already been through that, so it doesn't matter.
Wow. So, as you heard him say, he said quite a few things, and I was, just kind of taking notes so that I don't forget. So he says that basically he has been he misunderstood. Kind of sounds like he didn't know what he was doing since 1986, as he was asking everybody to give him lots of money. And you also notice he said that he would not apologize for, telling people to tithe and things like that, because it got him to where he is. Well, you ask yourself, well, where is Creflo Dollar? Well, Creflo Dollar, if you guys remember a couple of years back, I think it was 2015, if I'm not mistaken, he asked his congregation to give him $300 a piece so that he can raise money to buy a $65 million jet. It was a G650. Had two Rolls Royce engines and the top of the line, everything. Right now, keep it in mind, he already had a jet. I guess he just needed another, right? Because he said that he wanted to be able to spread the ministry abroad. Abroad, I guess, meaning all over the world. And so that's why he needed this new jet. He is not going to apologize for, as he said, the misunderstanding and misleading the congregation. He also told them to get rid of all the books and the teachings that I've given you on the matter of tithing. And then he admitted that tithing comes from fear and guilt, and which is true, right? How many of us been to church and they tell you, oh, if you don't tithe, this and that is going to happen. Will a man rob God? Yes, he will, through tithes and offering. So you get people to feel guilty and you put them in fear to tithe. And so he's saying that doctrine is old school. I don't know which doctrine he's going to go to. Maybe I've missed that point. But, he wanted to correct the wrongs that he has been teaching his congregation. And so I think many people have the question of, okay, well, is he going to give it back? Is he going to correct it? Because to me, the ultimate correction is giving back all the money that you strong-armed, you ask people to give you via the tithes and offerings, right? So we are going to get into that discussion. I see we have some people on here, and I am going to read your comments. But Walter, well, we'll let him get situated. So let me see what we have here. One cool uncle. Thank you so much for the collection plate. Yes, indeed. Hallelujah. Thank you for that. I love and appreciate you for that. So who else do we have on here? Let's see. Did I say hi to Moni already? How you doing? He said he's going to have to give an accountability for every dime that he prospered on false, fraudulent basis. He knows that he was wrong and out of order. He's just saying that now, right? And again, yes, I did. Hello, Brother Reggie. And Links 101, how you doing? Peace and Jafai, what's going on? He says, I always knew Creflo was all about the Benjamins, but I love the way he delivers the word. I admittedly haven't listened to him too much, so I'm not really for sure. And Patty Brown, how you doing? Mr. Michael Pan, how are you? Says, hi, DemetraKaye, how are you doing today? I'm doing well, no complaints. Thunder, how are you? Miss Sunlight, how you doing? And Love JJ, hello, how are you? And let's see, Jafai says, Creflo's wife, Tappy, is worse than he when it comes to money. I've heard a few things. And Cassandra, how you doing? Who else came on here? Steve says, hello, my sister. It's been a minute. Good evening, my brother. Yes, indeed. And we are glad you are back. And Love, JJ says, notice how they always start off, I'm growing. Right. You growing after what? Since 1986, you growing after you done grew your house, your bank account, and your jet collection. I mean, come on, man. Really? And then who else? Nancy, how are you? You says American scammer. Yeah, I think that's putting it mildly, right? And Sasha Mean, I hope I said that right. How you doing? It says Dollar said he wasn't apologizing and still took up money. Did he really? Because well, how is he going to, operate the church, right? And Brother Reggie says, after all this time, after all those millions, Creflo, go have a seat in jail or hell. And Steven says, no, Dollar Bill, you was running behind these wicked and greedy colonizer pastors. Yes, indeed. And Nancy says, God cost zero. I wonder how much he needs. Exactly. And Michael says Creflo is only about protecting his reputation. He is not ashamed of scamming people. Yeah, he just said, I'm not going to apologize. And Darius, how you doing? Says greetings and blessings to Sister Kay and Brother Coulter, the chat room, and their loved ones. Yes, indeed. All right. So who came on here? Glorious. How are you? Says my mom taught me a long time ago when we're living under grace, he should have known that. But I'm glad the message is finally going out onto the masses. Well, that's pretty problematic for other churches now, right? Because they're like, wait a minute now, you ain't supposed to be telling people that because that's gonna mess up our money, right? And yes, and Cassandra, you say he's speaking on the 10% because it says that you should tithe 10% of your, I guess, earnings, and then offerings is something different. So I don't know. And let's see here, Sutiban, I hope I said that right. How you doing? He says he had amnesia except for when it came to spending those checks at the bank, right? And Q Quita Ward, how you doing? He says, I know he didn't know what he was doing or just pulpit pimping. Yeah, I'm sure he's probably going to do something else. And then Walter Darius says for you to contact him. All right, so I just kind of want to get to all the comments on here before I give Walter the floor. Let's see who else came on here. Kurt Hoodlum, how are you doing? He said he's not getting no money from me. I know that's right. And Brother Don, my moderator, how are you? Jan Michael, how you doing? Yeah, he won't apologize. And let's see, Big B, how you doing? He says after gross $1 billion, it dawned on me this is wrong. Exactly, right? Like what's really going on? And how you doing, Amari? Who else came on here? And Mid Value Men's Network, how are you? And Jeffrey, how you doing? He says he made millions and should give it all back. Sweet talkers and false prophet. He has gotten so much money. He don't even need anymore. Exactly. Let's see. Canetta, how you doing? He says God is free. And he's supposed to be, right? And welcome to my crappie tackle box. How you doing? It says, truthfully speaking, he says, I seriously expected this out of Brother Dollar, but I don't and won't expect this out of absolutely no white preacher ever. You might be on to something. And Brother Jonell, how you doing? Let's see here. And thank you, Michael, for the donation. Love and appreciate you for that. He says Creflo's church will be audited by the IRS and FBI. Maybe that's why he's doing it. And let's see here, getting to the bottom here. Who else came on here that I did not recognize? I think I got everybody. So Walter, and I'll pick you guys' comments up. No, I got one more person. Letitia, how you doing? Says, I want all my money back from these devil pastors. I know that's right. So, okay, Walter, what you got on the topic?
Well, I didn't watch it. I haven't decided what to think about it yet. Sometimes when something like this happens, it's triggered. Like I don't know about the FBI and all that, but it's probably a trigger somewhere. Maybe someone called him, or maybe he started listening. Who knows? I'm sure the truth will come out. But they say some of the people that I listen to when it comes to uplifting and spiritual guidance, they say to pay or to donate where you're fed. So that doesn't have to be a church. It could be anywhere. Right here, if you're being fed, hit the dollar sign. And that's really what I think offering is supposed to be about. Somebody's helping you, then you help them back. I think the church has done a horrible job at pimping the people. It's embarrassing. And I ain't gonna say no pastors' names, but I live in California sometimes, and I've sat in a chair next to one of the preachers of LA. It's crazy when you actually sit next to one of these people and you listen to some of the stuff that they actually say when they're not on camera or in front of the pulpit. So I just think it's about time that he, if he is, what's the word I'm looking for? If he's, if he's sincere or not, I don't really think that's our business. I think what we should be happy about is he's spreading the word that it's wrong, and you don't need to tithe. And it is done out of fear. Give money or you're going to hell. I mean, that's cool. I remember sitting in church, when I was young and thinking, damn, which bill do I pay so I can tithe? Now I know better. I should, give my offerings and my investments first. But back then, I didn't really understand it. And I know a lot of people, who will say, I got to pay my tithes over my water bill and my investments. And I always ask, what are you getting from it? Like something happened to you. Is a church going to be there? Some churches are, but we know most churches ain't. They ain't going to be there. Matter of fact, some churches, you got to pay to sit in the front row. which is crazy. So Creflo, I like Creflo. I mean, some of the stuff he says makes sense. You know, I like this new guy. Listen to him talk, he seems more humble. You know, and he gonna need security, right? His name is Dollar. I always thought that was pretty gangster that he used Creflo Dollar. I thought that was aggressive, but
it sounds like that's his real name as well.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I mean, he seemed like he toned down his wardrobe a little bit. He's not rocking the pimp suit. Maybe the rest of the pastors can follow suit, because it's easier to listen to somebody when they're not wearing 12 colors. But I do think he is going to need. I don't know. I honestly think either he got audited or something's going on, and I don't see him, you know, making it 6 months. I think there's other pastors. They probably already in a circle doing him Judah style. Because can you imagine having a big old church and all of a sudden a pastor that's popular all over the world is saying we don't need to tithe. We do that. You know, it's a mistake. Matter of fact, not only is it a mistake, it's wrong. It's borderline criminal. It's crooked. We've been using the word to our advantage. Something must have really happened here. This is a story that I would follow.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree, like what's really going on. And also, you know, and how you doing, Rain, and everybody else that came on here, Amonda, Terry, and I'll get to the rest of y'all. Yeah, I think something happened as well, because something in the milk ain't clean, as the older people would say. It's like, why would you mess up your money? Because yeah, you know, offerings is something extra, right? It's like you're offering something, and sometimes it's considered like a sacrifice. So tithes and offerings. Offerings is something different aside from your tithing. So tithing, as y'all said, requires you to give 10% of your earnings. And so, yeah, I don't know. I would imagine he has some big ballers in the church, and you're making $1 million. What's 10% of that? That's $100,000, right? So, I mean, he's telling people to not do or give a significant amount of money. And so I don't know if he has another angle or what's going on, but I'm sure the people in the church are like, okay, that's cool, bet I can, you know, use that money. But what about the other churches? Who that's where they get their money from. I was listening to Bishop R.C. Blake's the other day, and I listened to him quite a bit. And on this particular video, because he's on YouTube, at the end, he does like a tithes and offering type of thing. He says, well, you know, we're not able to get to church, and if I could get, you know, all of you guys, or 300 or 400 of y'all watching, to give $50 to $60 to help with the ministry. Now, he's got a church in New Orleans and in Houston. And so I just kind of thought that was odd, and it speaks to the times that we're in, where inflation is high and people are having to kind of cut back. And so to me, it says, you know, that they're suffering as well in the church. And here comes Creflo Dollar at a time where, you know, money is kind of tight, telling people, keep your money. So I think, yeah, he's going to be in a lot of trouble with churches.
I mean, and he's doing the right thing. I mean, I just tell you, know, one of the things that bugs me, and I have to be careful, but like religion and the school system, two things that they force you to throw money into, that's most of it is useless. It's insanity to me why we have two of the biggest institutions in the world that both use fear to get you to do shit. It's insane. Like I always ask people, yeah, you go to church, great. Go there, worship God. You know, we should believe in a God. But damn, all that other stuff, like you can't do this, you can't wear lipstick, and all these other things you do. And then you see the preacher out there touching the little boys or whatever. The funny shit be going on behind these closed doors. You give a man that much power, he won't have problems. So I always say, give to the people that are helping you. That's it. If you got somebody at work and they're helping you, that's the person you offer money to. You know, if you watch a show like this, ding, ding, those are the people. You know, if you have a special YouTuber you watch, or, you know, somebody in the neighborhood, you know, like I'm in Texas, in my house, and one of my neighbors, he's cleaning up the whole community. He's just walking around picking up trash. That's the cat I want to give money to. You know, not the, and, you know, and these preachers, some of them are cool because, you know, they have books. Like, you know, I drove past Joel Osteen's church a couple of days ago. He had a huge church, but I know the dude got books, and, you know, for those guys that have money that they're making from books and other things, cool, that's their money. But you got people sitting up in church and they they worry about their finances, and you sucking 10% from them, and then not get nothing in return. That's gold. And I think we should go way back to all these churches. I think we should call our churches like we do, like our politicians and all these other, like, yo, like, what are we doing with this money? You got some of the biggest, I know this is the black show, so let's focus on that. You got some of the biggest churches. I'm in Houston right now, as DUR, and man, y'all churches out here ain't no joke. I mean, y'all churches look like Disney World. I'm talking like, damn, we still driving past the church. It's insane. And some of these churches are in some of the poorest neighborhoods.
Let's address this. And hello, Robert. If I'm not mistaken, Brother Robert, you're a pastor as well. If I'm not mistaken, I'm going to try to get down to the bottom and see your answer. But you say Creflo was right and wrong. 10% tithing was Old Testament initiative. And you say that is not a mandate in the New Testament. His point was you give out of recognition of the grace wherein we stand, as well as the knowledge that it takes funding to keep the lights on. Creflo understands that in his reversal, quote unquote, of theological doctrine, that he will now have more people giving freely to his church, which is his ulterior motive. By the way, the first thing my wife said when she heard this was, did he change his his name? Nah, you know what though? That sounds like that's his name. But you might be on to something. Maybe people will feel like, okay, well, the obligation is no longer there, and I'm just gonna do it, right? Just because I don't have to worry about, them locking the church doors if until they get all the money they need. So you might be on to something.
I mean, we're gonna see. But at the end of the day, like I said, you should give to the people that are feeding you. That's it. And we need to call all these churches, like we do our politicians in our schools, and say, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing with the money? And what are we getting from it? Like, think about this for a second, right? You go to school, your kid goes to school, and you're indoctrinated with crap and fear. Then you go to the club on Saturday where there's no fear. And then you go Sunday and you go back to the fear. I remember walking the last church I went to, well, the big one in Rancho Cucamonga, California. I left there going, damn, I'm going to hell. And every Sunday, he's like, if you did this and you did this, you need to repent. I'm like, man, I'm up at the front every week. I'm like repenting and like up at the altar every week. I'm like, there's got to be a better way. And then the offering come around. I'm like, oh, I'm definitely going to hell. I put $100 in the basket. And I know damn well I made $1,800 last week, but I only gave him 100. I gave him 6%. Sometimes I didn't feel like giving. I mean, I understand you got to keep the lights on. You should give. If you go to church, you should give. Definitely. If you spend time in a church, they got lights, electricity, they got ushers and things they need to pay. You should spend money when you go to church. I think it should be more, though, out of willing. Like you go to a football game, right? You have a chance to go buy a soda or a hot dog. You understand what I'm saying? Because you feel like you're getting something from it. Churches should have to compete for our business, right? When I go to like see spiritual advisors or these mental boot camps, I mean, they, we pay for that, but they make it clear, here's what you're going to get when you leave here. It's going to be a tangible thing that you can actually feel and touch when you leave here.
Thunder. No, it's not rude to ask for change.
Heck no. Quarters add up. Quarters, dollars. I'm glad that it was somebody like him that came out and did it. Because he's a big dog. Creflo Dollar is the business. I don't know how long he's been on TV, but I remember seeing Creflo, when I was heavy in the church, and I use that word lightly, but when I was heavy in church, I remember Creflo. He was a man. So for him to do this is huge. And maybe some of our people will let go of the nuts. And here's what I mean by this. When I say nuts, I'm talking like real nuts. Right? National Geographic, I remember as a kid, they would put nuts in a tree and the monkey would go grab these nuts. And he couldn't move his hand out because he wouldn't let go of the nuts. Remember that National Geographic? That's how the Africans of the tribes, they catch these monkeys and they eat them because they won't let go of the nuts and they can't get their hand out the hole. That has been our people forever. Like, I could put on a whoop-ass financial show and then ask people to give me 10% or to donate. And people be like, ah. But when it comes to the church, it just have this hold on people. And knowing most of y'all going to hell anyways based on your behavior. I mean, damn, if we had to, can I just be sincere? Like when you go to church and when you leave and then you sin like the next day or you chicken and waffles and you know you shouldn't be, because I'm sure there's a verse against eating chicken and waffles. Do you feel like you're going to hell? Like religion to me is just, it's so fear. Like in that book, Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. It's Napoleon Hill? I think it's Napoleon Hill.
Napoleon Hill, Outwitting the Devil, yeah.
Outwitting the Devil is one of the greatest books that I've read, and it's fear, fear, fear. If you take fear out of religion, those pews are empty. I can promise you. Sometimes I didn't want to go to church, but I was like, damn, we got to go. We're going to hell. So, yeah, I'm glad he did. I hope everyone else follows, and I hope we push the button on it. Because some of you, especially black people, man, y'all need to start saving money. Y'all getting killed right now. The depression, gas prices, it's going down.
So what do you think about this whole prosperity preaching? Especially, I mean, you see it everywhere, but it seems like it's more so in the black church. And can you explain what prosperity preaching is? Or does anybody really even know what that means?
I mean, in my opinion, we will teach you how to be prosperous by uplifting you and giving you God's grace. And then you're going to, you'll be more prosperous if you listen to my word.
And this is actually a good question, Michael. You say, where is the money going that the churchgoers should be demanding from their pastors? Well, I mean, I know in the churches that I've been to, they have, like a building fund offering, which is supposed to help with the building, whether, I don't know, it needs new this or that or roof or supplies and stuff inside the church. But then, you have a regular offering. I don't know where that is supposed to go. But then you have the tithes. And so there's a plethora of offerings. You have a pastor's love offering where in a lot of churches you give directly to the pastor and his wife once a month, which I thought that's kind of what the tithes and the offerings and the other stuff was for. But so, yeah, the offerings are supposed to go and I guess maintain the church. And, it is biblical to take care of your pastor, right? That you should take care of your pastor. But you guys remember, I'm old enough to remember when the pastors used to live in what they call the parsonage, right? Isn't that the name of the parsonage?
I think so. The back house.
Yeah, or the house was right next door to the church or somewhere near the church. And I guess the premise of that is so that, the pastor could be accessible if you need him to be. And it was the church's way of taking care of the pastor. But nowadays, the pastor, he live an hour or so away in the, houses in the gated community on a hill, and he's not, or she is not that accessible. And so, yeah, that's the way it used to be, right? But so when did they get away from the, simply living, on the parsonage? I mean, nowadays you have pastors. I remember at my grandmother's church a long time ago in Santa Barbara, her pastor would put on the big giant, the screen of him and his wife on a vacation. They play a, home movie and stuff. And then they would say, thanks to y'all. Thanks to y'all for doing it. It's like, you're not keeping in mind the people in the congregation probably working 9 to 5 and, they got to scrape and save for that money. But here you are bragging that you went on a whirlwind. I think they went to Aruba or something like that, this vacation, and you're bragging about it to the church.
I mean, again, there's nothing wrong with giving money at church. And you guys, let's do this for a second. Now, I'm gonna backtrack. If we take churches, synagogues out of the public, this world would be a much worse place. I know there's some people that do not kill, murder, slap the shit out of one of their kids based on their religious beliefs. So we do need religion in the sense that it makes people behave. I can remember clearly going, you know what, I'm a Christian, I'm not going to do that. I know, I mean, I said I can remember. I didn't say how many times. But religion makes the world a better place in the sense that people, they'll treat each other better. That I like. That part I like. Because if you take religion out of it, then some people are going to act a fool. And I think religion is what keeps a lot of people from cheating on each other. All that stuff in church You know, I've been to some churches. Whew, Lord have mercy. And I'm like, thank God they believe in Jesus. Because you could tell some of these people, if they didn't, it would be something totally different.
I mean, and here's another question. Should a preacher buy expensive jewelry at the expense of his donors? The money should go towards food, housing, employment, and maintenance. My take on the whole thing is I don't care if the pastor has those things as long as the congregation is not, suffering or wanting for anything. I mean, because there used to be a time in churches where they had a benevolent fund where, sister so-and-so or brother, whoever, needed some money to pay the light bills or, some money to get by. They say, yeah, we have some money in the benevolent fund, give sister so-and-so some money. Nowadays, I don't even know if churches have that. So if you don't have a benevolence fund and your pastor's running around in gaiters and, jewelry and, rocks on every finger, and that's because of the church, because I know, as Walter said and someone else said, pastors do, write books and they have other sources of revenue. But if their sole revenue is from the church and they look sharp as attacking the congregation is suffering, and that's wrong.
Yeah, and so with it being mandatory, with it being voluntary with no fear, if your pastor wants to wear jewelry, that's his business. But if you give the money willingly and he wants, hey, your pastor, like I go to, I go through this church, pastor's church, sometimes in Riverside, and man, that dude got a G-Wagon, Ferrari, and the people at his church boast that he has all these things, all these material things. And so they're proud that, my pastor is well taken care of, right? And I think he has some other things going on, financially. He's got some books and some things, which I think, if you want to write a book, what you do with that money is yours. But then some of that money you should then give back to the church, because there's still people in your church that are paying for your book, buying your book, and then helping you spread the word. So I guess it all really kind of ties back in. I know TD Jakes, I think he has a suit line and things like that. He's in entertainment from what I understand. So I can understand his lifestyle being extravagant, because he brings in millions of dollars with his other businesses. But they should reach back. And it's just like, this is actually a really good subject. If you compare, let's take a big preacher like Creflo to Jeffrey Bezos, right? Who runs Amazon, or did. He's chairman of, I don't know what he's doing now. He's hanging out with the newscaster. But wouldn't it be cool if the churches actually gave back to the people in need? We ask corporations to do this all the time. Well, the CEO is making $10 billion a year. Should he give back to employees? I think, yes, it makes sense to do that as a human being. But if we could get the churches to do that, right? Because if you build your business on the church, on the word, so basically you take a foundation of fear. If you don't go to a church, if you don't believe in God, you are going to hell, which drives me insane. So the 100 years we get on this planet, you will spend eternity paying for that blink of an eye. And I can tell you when I made a decision that I was going to go to church for the rest of my life. I was at New Jay, Reverend Lauder, who was a phenomenal preacher, by the way. I got a lot from that dude. He brought the heat, and he was business minded, and he was like, he earned his money. But I remember one time he said, take a block, a steel block, the size of a mile wide block, a square block made of steel, and imagine a hummingbird beating that mile by mile block of steel with its wings, beating it down. You understand what I'm saying? He said that will be the first day in hell. And so I tried to fathom, how long does it take a hummingbird to beat down a mile by mile block of steel? Forever. And it scared the shit out of me. And I remember at that moment going, okay, you got my attention. I'm going to church. Here's my money, blah, 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 blah. And I just remembered that feeling of like, damn. So every move that, even to this day, I think about that phrase. I still think about that today. Like, am I doing the right thing? Did I do something wrong today? Like, and as a Christian, especially Black people, we are notorious for this. We live in our fear is so strong. It's insane. So you take that fear, then you take somebody telling us to give them the money, then add to the fact that we don't really save money the way we should, we are doomed. If you take schools, religion, and our lack of savings, that is the detriment of Black people.
Let me get this comment. How you doing, Terry? He says, while I appreciate that, where does it say we're to provide for the pastors? And so in 1 Thessalonians 5:12, it says, now we ask you, brothers, to give recognition to those who labor among you and lead you in the Lord and admonish you. So that would more than likely be your pastor who is leading the flock. So that is, again, 1 Thessalonians 5:12.
I mean, you, like I said, you should take care of your pastor if he or she is feeding you. If you leave the church and you feel like, oh shit, like I'm scared, I gotta watch what I'm doing, then that's, I don't, in my opinion, that's not the person that you donate to, because we shouldn't do things in fear. I know a lot of times we do.
Let me address this as well. Joel Osteen is another wolf, just like the rest of them. It's not, if not worse, he's the smiling devil. Well, I actually researched that of Joel Osteen. Joel Osteen he took over the church after his father passed away. And his father had built that church, I don't know, probably a good 40 plus years before he got the church. Reluctantly, he got the church. He didn't want to pastor the church, but that was his calling. But after researching Joel Osteen, he actually does not make a lot of his money from the church. Joel Osteen actually makes a lot of his money from speaking engagements and all the books and stuff that he has. And so a lot of pastors aren't, because I don't want us to say that all pastors are swindling. And I don't truly know what Joel Osteen is doing. I know he had some issues with Hurricane, it was a Harvey, where he wouldn't let people in the church when people didn't have anywhere to go. But Joel Osteen does actually make a lot of his money from off of his own efforts, if you will. I mean, he pastors a church too, so he should, and any pastor should get something for pastoring the church. It's just that the church and the pastor shouldn't be better off than the people in it, especially to a large degree, right?
Well, Joel Osteen, I mean, like I said, I've driven past his church many times here in Houston. You can tell that church is buzzing. I mean, the activity around that church, the energy, so you can feel it. And then I've seen Joel Osteen in person. Matter of fact, I paid to go see him. Was given tickets, something like that, where I went and saw Joel Osteen. I don't even remember Paul and Mary. A bunch of us went together.
It was like, what, $10? It
was something that was real cheap. The tickets were like dirt cheap to get in. And so I remember this dude, those of you, like people like Joel Osteen, and there's quite a few pastors that do earn their money. Like, you have to give credit to a guy, though, that is saving lives. Like, when I went to see him at the convention center, this is like where they played like sports. It was packed. These are not people that went out of fear. These are people that were like going. They were buying T-shirts, books, food. I mean, this is $1 billion industry. This whole thing he was doing. And so I just remember leaving there and seeing how happy everybody was. They were fired up. They were happy. It wasn't fear. These people were pumped up. And I listened to this dude. Matter of fact, I have 2 of Joel Osteen's books next to my bed and one in my hallway and one in my libraries. And I listen to him. I read his books, but I don't feel like, oh my God, I'm going to hell. And I'm sure he teaches that. But the point I'm making is, you have some preachers like that do earn their money and do good. I know a lot of people that have walked off of suicide ledge after listening to one of his tapes, or one of his videos. And actually, my favorite joke, we'll get off of Joel Osteen. I feel like Medea. She be on Joel, but he told this joke. So he's got this lady. He was like, lady, I will take care of you forever. I will always take care of you. I will always have your back. And so the lady goes and she's living her life and she gets to start changing things. She has plastic surgery and all these things. And then she gets hit by a car. Bam, she gets killed. And then she gets to heaven and she said, God, I thought you would take care of me. He said, bitch, I ain't recognize you. He didn't say that, but that would have been my version.
Right, because I was like, I know damn well Joel Osteen didn't use that word.
No, he didn't use that, but it was hilarious. And so I think about some of those things that I get from some of the ministers like that. So we shouldn't just pick on a preacher, because, and honestly, the ministers should do well. The preachers should be the richest guys in the room, based on them taking care of the thing that's most dear to us, is our soul and our spirituality. What's higher than your soul and your spirituality? Think about it. If you take your mindset and you destroy it, what happens to the body and everyone around you? So I agree that these guys should get paid well. I just think it shouldn't be out of fear. I have no problem with the guy that I'm going to listen to for spiritual guidance or whatever driving a Ferrari, as long as I'm getting something from it. You know what I'm saying? And we do have to be careful, because Jeff Bezos has a bunch of private jets, and I don't mind him. Matter of fact, I want Jeff to have all that money. So my package, matter of fact, I'm waiting on a package right now, a ladder for the lake, so these people can get their asses in and out of the water without slipping. But Amazon provides a service. If the preacher provides a service in the church, they should get paid. The problem is a lot of these places don't provide a service. You leave there feeling scared, like you're gonna die. Oh, you didn't give you. I've heard ministers talk about tithing, like if you don't tithe, you're going to hell. I'm like, well, shit. Then I ain't gonna do none of it, because I'm gonna make a mistake somewhere along the line. I'm gonna sin, right? And besides, matter of fact, money is talked about. If I'm correct, money is the number one subject in the Bible, is it not?
So I understand.
I haven't read the Bible at length, so I don't know if this to be true, but I do hear a lot of people saying that money is talked about. I know money comes up in the Bible quite a bit. I don't know if it's the biggest thing, but I know I've heard, and seen some verses like Ecclesiastes 10:19, money controls all things. At least that's the end of the verse, right? So I just think we need to do a better job. Like when you talk about prosperity preaching, okay, church, welcome. It's Sunday. It's the 1st. Come the 8th, everybody bring your bank statement. Because to be prosperous means you are growing, right? Mm-hmm. On the 15th, everybody bring your bank statements. That's the kind of church I would go to. Like, okay, you said you were going to see your kids once a week. Did you see your kids once a week? Let's do it. Like, you understand what I'm saying? Yeah, you ain't getting your money back, Letitia. You just get that. Spend your time doing something else.
I want to go back to this one. And Jackie, how you doing? It says every man ought to get a job and work, including pastors. If a man don't work, he ought not eat. I didn't write the scriptures. I agree with them. Amen. Well, can we agree that maybe being a pastor is a job? Because a lot of pastors, they do go to school, or was it theology school, whatever it's called. So I think that's a job. You got to, get up there. I know a lot of pastors just get up there and hoop and holler, but a lot of them, they have to study and make sure they're leading the congregation or, the flock in the right direction and all of that. So I think that's a job. Now I get where you're going, that especially if you have a church that's struggling, you shouldn't, maybe you should have a job until the church gets on its feet a little bit more. But if the job is, the church is struggling because they're trying to take care of the pastor and sometimes, an exorbitant lifestyle, then yeah, that's wrong. They should have a job until the church is better off.
Yeah, and that's even questionable too. I'd even beg to differ a little bit on that, because if you trusting somebody with your spirituality, if they're working hard and the church is struggling, sometimes they need to double down on their efforts. You understand what I'm saying? Because I couldn't run a church. I'll be slapping the hell out of people. It would be a 2-minute sermon. So I understand what it takes trying to uplift and deal with people. Can you imagine being a minister and taking all those things from the people and all the pain and the families and all? I remember Pastor Lauder just looking exhausted. Like, wow, that family came under there and wore him out with their problems. Those people should get paid. Number 1. 2, we need to change how we think about money. Money is not the root of all evil. It is the love of money. What they ought to do is change. It is maybe the misunderstanding of money. money is not the root to all evil. Because from what I read in the Bible, it talks about prosperity. And some of the characters in the Bibles that had mega wealth. And they talked about them well. We should have mega wealth. Money is not the root to all evil. That is something that keeps Black people, people of color, poor as hell. Stop with that shit. Money is not the root. Because you can't say money is the root to all evils, but then you go to work and expect to get paid. And I know some of y'all on here, if y'all don't get y'all paycheck, it's going down. Like some of y'all will be cutting the boss. You don't get your check. So we just need to reshape how we think of money. Money is all things. It pays for the pastor, it pays for you to feed your family, all these things. We need money. And I think our relationship with money is so weak that it's easy for a minister to say, you got to give me 10%. If you have a real relationship with money and somebody's asking you for 10% of your hard-earned money, you're going to make him or her earn it.
Let's address this. And Thunder, I'm going to get back to your question. I wrote it down so I don't forget. And Brother Robert says, it seems y'all's conversation today is based on the perceived reputation of pastors instead of the historical significance of the Black church and how much we need that social and moral center today. And I think he raises an excellent point, because that the basis of the Black church was exactly for that social and moral center. A lot of times, people, let's say if it was a single mom or something, she could take her son to the pastor and, he'd mentor him and try to, help him stay on the straight and narrow. And it does give you a sense of morality, right? Like, damn, maybe I should be good, because when you go to church, you get those lessons on being good, being upright, and all those things. And some people have even argued, because we don't make church as important as we used to. That's why we have a lot of issues that we have in society, because people are just morally bankrupt, right? As you guys have said, when we used to go to church, there was a little bit of that fear, like, damn, if I do this, I might go to hell, or, this, that, and the other. So it kind of kept us on a straight and narrow for the most part, not all the time. So yeah, I totally agree with you on that. And so maybe we should be making a difference between the pastors who are pastoring for their own prosperity and their own prosperity only, and the difference between the pastors who are truly there to help the congregation and the community.
Yeah, the morals. I mean, I'm a pastor, right? Use your imagination. If I'm a pastor, everybody bring your dream board to church. What is it you want in your life? See, because a lot of us don't know what we want. But morals, the church being there for morals and all that stuff, I think that train has come and gone. Right? I think we have too many distractions. By the time church rolls around, all the things we get hit with. Some of the people that joke, club on Saturday, church on Sunday. I think what it ought to be is, what is it you want to get done? And can my word help you get there? Because I've been to churches where they made it sound crazy to take care of yourself. I remember, what's the guy in LA, the big preacher in LA, Fred, you know what I'm talking about?
Price?
Fred Price. One time going on about investments and annuities, and your investments is with the church. And I was like, click, turn that channel off. Man, Black people, we need to be saving our money first. Like, you can't keep using guilt to tell people that, you need to take care of God first. First of all, God, if we really believe in God, what does he need from us? Seriously, you think God needs our money? No, you need our money, Mr. Pastor. So you should earn it. Period.
Let me address this. So Sasha Mean, I hope I'm saying your name right, says, no, ma'am, I didn't say pastors respectfully. So that one was a First Thessalonians, and I moved away from it now. I think it was 5 and 7 or something like that. So it didn't say pastor specifically, but it does say leaders. And so if you break down the word of a pastor, what does it mean to be a pastor? Don't pastors lead the flock? So yeah, if you're, and I don't go to church, but I do know a little bit about the Bible. So sometimes I think reading the Bible does take a little bit of interpretation. Also, there's a whole bunch of scriptures, but this one, 1 Timothy 5 and 17 says, let the elders who rule be considered worthy of double honor, especially those who labor in preaching and teaching. So that does specifically list pastors. Now, when it says be worthy of double honor, I mean, what that is, I don't know if it's money or what, but it sounds like they should be compensated to some degree for what they are doing in the church.
It's their time, but we equate pastors to leaders. And
True.
I think maybe that's where she's going with this. And I get the point. It doesn't say pastors, but a leader, the pastor is the CEO of the church, period. And the CEO tends to make more money, just the way it is. The church is, sometimes you guys, we forget that church is a business. It's a business. They have payroll, accounting, all that stuff. A church is just a business that does not pay taxes, which is why a lot of people start churches. As a matter of fact, I went to Scientology for some time, just in LA, to the Franklin Center with Tom Cruise and John Travolta and some of those guys go. And I tell you, not from a religious point of view, because I don't know what Scientologists, I don't know what the religion is or what they believe in, or Xenon and this God from Xenon. I don't understand all that. But what I do know is that when I left the Church of Scientology just for those few days, I left there with like, whoa, energy. Like they taught us how to read a book. And one day they learned, here's how you read a book. And here's why most kids don't do well in school, because they get lost on the page. And so they get lost on line 2, and line number 12, they were already out of it. So they're just wasting their time. So they were like, yo, here's how you read a page. Here's how you go through a book. And I remember watching this video, and I remember going, damn, that's what I needed to hear. Like, I just need to connect the dots. So I remember buying a bunch of books and stuff like that. There was no talk of, hey, you got to give me your money. Thou shalt give me 10% or die. I remember being, yo, I just took some crazy knowledge out of here. And so if we get that, and I'm not co-signing on the Church of Scientology. I don't know anything about it. I'm just saying I went there with someone just to kind of take a look at it. And I think if I went to a Jewish synagogue, I could, a Catholic church, I could learn something. I'm sure I could learn something from all of them.
Jay the Informant, how you doing? So you say, question, I'm in Houston. To brother, have you seen Sheila Jackson Lee going into these black churches talking about slavery and Jim Crow and pivoting to the Democratic agenda? Disgusting. I haven't, but I wrote it down, and I will research it to see what's going on with that. Yeah, but that is pretty disgusting because, of course, they're going to try to pander for votes. Well, that's where, most of the time, especially Democrats, go to the black church to sell their agenda and to get votes, right? Buy votes via the pastor. They put a nice little offering in the plate, and the rest is history.
I don't know why, man. Listen, politics is probably one thing we could let go of in the traditional sense, because just like the churches, I've had people say, "Oh, are you a Christian?" I've had people approach me like, "You're a Christian, right?" Like aggressively. I'm like, dude, back up off me. Like, me being a Christian or not is my prerogative, and I'm open to somebody educating me. Look, I have good friends that are pastors, and I listen to them. I listen to their side. But man, I don't want to be forced into something. And I think black people, we are notorious for forcing ourselves into these holes, like with politics. Religion and politics are in the school system. I'm telling you, that's the 3 pillars of black destruction. With the school system, what, did you go to Morehouse? Oh, you ain't shit. You know what I'm saying? What school did you go to? I went to school, dummy. You know what I'm saying? Or like all these rules and these things that we have to follow, and following these, man, I tell me, don't get me started on politics. I know the show ain't that long, but man, it kills me that black people get slapped in the face and we still keep following the same old dummies. Man, I get this. I still have this picture in my mind of Nancy Pelosi on her knees in her red bottoms with the dashiki thing, with the African wrap around her neck, her and Chuck Schumer on their knees, or whatever. Remember that picture after the pandemic, or the George Floyd?
Oh, and yeah. The kente cloth and all that. Let me address this. Drizzy, how you doing? This is Sister Demetra, the preacher. Is supposed to serve, not serve or live above means of the people. He is not the spokesman person for the Most High. The Bible is, yeah. So I totally agree with that. He's just a vessel, I guess, to deliver the gospel, if you will. But I think it should be a two-way street. I think everybody should be a service to each other. But to your point, a lot of times in churches, it is one-sided to where it's, I guess if we're talking in a material sense, yeah, the pastor is being served. But if you think of the job of a pastor, he is to serve you the word of God, right? It's manna, right? Isn't that what the word of God is called, manna? So he is supposed to, he or she, serve the people the word of God, and so he is being of service. So I agree with you. I think it should be both ways. That's just me, though.
I mean, he or she is the CEO, the leader. They tend to make the most money because they take on the most responsibility. That's the way it's supposed to work. So, as far as the minister preacher, like if you look at Minister Farrakhan, I'm pretty sure he's the highest paid or compensated or well taken care of in the Nation of Islam. I would, right, as far as the people go. But that's the dude that you always see. Farrakhan, something comes up, Farrakhan's up there. He's speaking. Even in his older age, he's up there. He's speaking. He's taking on a lot of responsibility. You know,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, absolutely. And I think that I think leaders should be taken care of. But Israelite brother, how you doing? He says, I could tell you haven't read the Bible, so I'm not sure if you're talking to Walter or you're talking to me. But I don't know. I try not to talk about it as much, but I have both of my degrees from Baptist college. And so with that, I had to know the word just a little bit. And I spent quite a bit of time in church. At first, I was born into the Nation of Islam, and about the age of 12, maybe 10 or 12, converted to that of Christianity. And I've been in the church up until the last, I'd say 8 years or so. So I'm pretty familiar with the Bible, I would say.
But it's that shit right there that I'm talking about. It's that shit backing your Negro up into the wall, and the whole. No, I haven't. I've read some of the Bible, not a lot of it. You know, just like I didn't read all my geometry and French books either. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have to stop backing each other into a corner. And let me ask you a question. Anybody that's professed to have read the Bible, where are you at in your life? Because most of the Christians I know are broke as hell, struggling. Oh, I'm going to church to ask for another financial blessing. Again? Like, damn, how many times do you need to ask this God for financial well-being? Like, does it say that in the Bible? You got to keep begging me every Sunday for financial healing? Why don't you just do it? We need to back up off of this stance. We just back each other into a corner.
Let's say this, Jackie. He says, I'm not judging you, sis. What did I say wrong? You didn't say anything wrong that I know of. And if I said something that may seem like it came off a little offensive, I apologize. Just kind of doing this in real time. Sometimes comments kind of get mixed around or something. So you didn't say anything wrong that I know of. I mean, and nobody's technically saying anything wrong here. Everybody's just kind of voicing their own opinion, and we're just having a conversation. So I apologize if anything I said came off as austere towards you.
No, we need to start keeping these churches and the people in the church accountable. I know for a fact that if you want to get the black vote, you swing through the churches. You go, man. You get Bill Clinton and Joe Biden up in there at the Negro churches. It's a wrap. God says, you almost feel like God says you need to vote for these fools. Don't you get that impression sometimes? Like you gotta vote for Joe Biden, Master Biden. Like you need to vote for him. It's crazy, man. We've used it to create fear. Even right now, we even tread water or thin ice, even talking about the subject to each other. It blows me away. Like, you don't go to church? Fine. I don't like chicken. I like steak, ribeye specifically. But because I don't like chicken, we're not about to get our fist up. I mean, I've had people approach me about church, like, what? You don't go to church? I'm like, okay. You're not a Democrat? I remember me and some of my friends, we used to go to this Republican group, and we used to always be like, don't tell nobody, we're Republicans. Because in the black community, that's a death sentence. They will kill you. Like, look what we did to Ice Cube. Lord have mercy. Anyways, so back to center. Money has always been used to manipulate people. And not that money is the root, but like, if we talk about tithing, and people give money. And I think most people, when they do give, they don't want to give, but they just feel like they have to. What if we had that feeling when it came to ourselves, investing? Black people, it is tiring as a one-legged man in a booty-kicking contest trying to get black people to save money. Every time we bring up money, money is the root of all evil. That is some bull loney to the fifth degree. It blows me away. Man, if you took black people out of the Louis Vuitton store, Louis, man, their earnings, they might miss earnings this quarter. Why don't we take our love for Louis and turn that to our love for our future or investments? Or like we do with the church, right? Now, again, if you're getting something from the church, give them whatever you want if you feel like you're getting something from it. And I think it's pastors that are a lot of responsible for that. Money is the root to all evil. Because I've heard a lot of pastors say that. Money is the root to all evil. Give me your money. Let God do what's right with your money. Well, the God I worship says you keep your money and you do what's right for you and your family. So you don't got to be knocking on the church's door for your rent or your mortgage. But that's just me.
I'm just looking at some of these comments and I'm just putting them up. I'm trying to put up people I haven't seen just yet, and then I'll get back to it. So let's, Thunder, you had a couple questions. Let's get you right here. He says, DK, have you noticed all the empty and abandoned churches in Houston, Black community? Could we change them into trade schools like electric, mechanic, auto, or aviation, or HVAC, or even CDL? We surely can. But I have noticed that. What's really going on with that? And, I guess being in the South, there are a lot of churches. But yeah, we definitely could do something with that to actually help our people in the communities, as the church, would do, I guess, if it was there, or should do. But very good point.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I'd be interested to know what some of those are, because that would be good. Like a trade school, mechanic shop, body shop. My God, some of these things you spend money on. I know in California, I have a body and a mechanic guy that works for me, and I'm always, man, where are the Black mechanics? Like, where are these folks and these young Black kids with these trades? It is mind-blowing. That would be a good idea. That's a great comment. Turn some of those into centers. But you guys, we have to be okay with this, though. Black people, you have to be okay doing better. You have to be okay being a powerhouse and having money and having your bills paid and going out and being responsible for your well-being. You understand what I'm saying? We can't be waiting on the Lord to do everything for us. And when you have somebody that's balling, you have to let them ball. Sometimes in the Black community, I know if you start doing too well, then you got a problem, which is why a lot of people move. I remember being in Snoop's house in Claremont. And, Ice Cube, too, said having nice shit in the hood is like inviting ants to a picnic.
I mean, and, today, Eric Holder, the guy that murdered Nipsey, he was just found guilty of, first-degree murder. And some argue that was Nipsey Hussle's downfall, was staying amongst, the people once he got up there. And as far as wealthy, he felt like, I'm comfortable around my people. I want to make a difference for my people. But after he was murdered, a lot of people came forward and said, we told Nipsey, you need to move a little bit differently now, because you got, you just kind of out there. You had a bodyguard and stuff, but you just kind of out there and exposed. And there's people out there who ain't going to like what you're doing. And unfortunately, that happened. He's no longer here. And there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there. But the point is, he thought that he was going to be an asset to be among his people instead of moving and still, helping. So,
Nipsey bought into the false narrative that if you stay in the Black community and don't leave, that you can help them. And we do that to ourselves. Well, how come he moved out of the hood? I remember I had drinks with Nipsey Hussle right before he passed away. This was a cool dude. Like, Nipsey was Rap Niggas, which was my favorite song by him. But in public, he was just like the nicest dude. And I remember my boy, they were close. And you're right. People's like, Nipsey, you got to get out of the hood. Your job is done. You need to rise above. You need to move, because these people, you got to be in a position where people can't touch you. because jealousy people will. Just think about this. You can't roll in some neighborhoods with a really nice car without fear of being carjacked. Imagine being somebody like Nipsey Hussle, where everybody know you got money. Yeah, no, that's a whole nother podcast, whole nother show. You know, we just got to do better. We have to be stronger. And I'm telling you, it ain't going to happen until we get our money right. That's it. And once you have, and when I say money right, I mean have control of it. Right? Because, no matter how much money you have, you're always going to have financial concerns and issues. Right? You're always going to have those. But even if you're fighting for it, that is cool. Like, I know me financially, I'm still fighting for some things and trying to get some things going. And man, it's madness. But I feel good that I'm at least doing the work. You understand what I'm saying? I think Black people, we need to spend more time on that. The time we spend in church, we should spend the equivalent time working on ourselves. Like, okay, here's business 101. Oh, you know what we should do while we're into the pressure game is we should be like, hey, are you instead of what set you from, did you save 10% this week? Oh, are you a Democrat? Or did you save 10% of your money this week? That should be the pressure game. Did you save money? Did you put money away? Have you saved money? Because we're going to keep having these conversations over and over and over and over and over over until we get our money right. I want to be paid for that scratch. I mean, it's not even that complicated. Like, God damn, what point do we grab control of our money? You work hard for it, people.
And I want to address Stacy. How you doing, Stacy? Says, I'm an LA native. Nipsey was beloved. It was a government assassination. He was targeted by LAPD for years. Yes, and that's also what they're saying. I read a really lengthy article about that, and his, people that work really with him and close to him. It was like, yeah, same thing you said. They really believe that it was a targeted hit by the LAPD for a whole host of reasons, but just thinking about Nipsey and what he was trying to do, I mean, it's sad. Even 3 years later and plus, it's just really, really, really sad. Like when I see pictures of him or whatever, because I get notifications from the marathon, like if they got a new release or something, I think about him and what he was really trying to do for his people there in South Central, and it's just one of those things that you'll never, ever, I think, get peace with. I mean, you have to some degree, but just to think the possibilities that could have been had, or been realized with what he was doing. And I know they're still trying to do it, but just the fact that, he's gone, it's crazy.
Nipsey was a good dude. I mean, like, Nipsey was a straight up good dude. Like, that was insane. The day he died, that was like, the equivalent of like losing someone like Michael Jackson or, some of these. That was a big dude. Nipsey was the coolest. But the problem is you cannot, like, police or no police. Maybe the police murdered him. Of course the police, and I want to back away from saying the police because I want to change the narrative a little bit. We can't keep saying the police because not all police are bad. Right? I have a lot of friends that are officers and they're cool dudes. Like, some of my best friends are in law enforcement. Some of them don't need a gun, but I think there's always going to be that, right? There's always going to be people, whatever powers that be, that are against us, right? I mean, the European came over here, stole, destroyed, and everywhere the European is gone, they stole and destroyed. So it ain't going to change. It ain't like we're sorry. That's going to be there. But we have to start doing our part, right? Like, look at Jay-Z. You can't touch Jay-Z. I mean, I was at the same party with Nipsey Hussle. I was at Jay-Z's party, and I took a picture of Jay-Z's direction, and his manager was like, whoa, you can't do that. I was like, man, it's a camera, back up. I didn't throw my car, but anyways. So sometimes you need to remove yourself, number one. And two, we need to press home, like, yo, if you're not saving money, you're killing the race. Killing the race. And we need to be.
Thunder, I am going to read it. I swear. After this week, I'll have a little bit of downtime, and I'm going to read everything that I said I was going to read. But after next week, actually, then I'll have some woosah time. So I am going to read it. Make sure that I understand what I'm reading as well.
Yeah, and we should, you guys, again, we should give to our communities. But how you give to your community is taking care of you first. You understand what I'm saying? When you get on an airplane, you can't give oxygen support to the person next to you until you take care of yourself first. And I think we as a Black community, we need to back up a little bit on that, oh, you're not taking care of the Black community. What it is maybe we're not taking care of the Black community the way that each individual wants to see it. But I know for a fact, like I hear people talk shit about LeBron James all the time, or he's not giving back. But I know this brother has schools and all kinds of stuff in the U.S. In his hometown, they got schools. They get dressed up suits, talk business. No one's talking about that. You understand what I'm saying? So I think we need to back up off that, oh, you got to give to the hood. No, the hood. There you go. I'm going to put that on the shirt. You can't pour from an empty cup.
And let's address this one. And Michael, he says, Walter, sure that a majority of cops are not bad people. Some cops are good, but a majority of them are not good due to systemic racism and white supremacy. And he's absolutely right, because a lot of times, and I've had this discussion with a lot of people, and Donovan, actually is pretty good at pointing this out as well. A lot of people say, oh, well, there are some good cops. It's like, well, if there's so many good cops, why are all the police departments rogue, right? Every police department has an issue. They got gangs within the police department. And a lot of those good officers, they stand by and watch bad officers do bad things to citizens and mostly to unarmed Black people. Like last week with Jalen Walker, the young man that was shot 60 times and shot at 90. 60 of those bullets landed on him, 12 to his face. Said he was shot from his head to his feet. It was 8 officers involved in that. So how many of those officers would consider themselves good, right? Or was called a good cop? I don't think you're a good cop if you, like, out of all those officers that showed up on the scene, nobody said, well, not really a threat. He's running away. Let's kind of deal with this, from a different standpoint. We're going to shoot the kid in his back as he's running and then shoot him all over his body. So I too have a hard time with the good cop analogy, because if there was, then I think most police departments would run with decency with everybody. Also with the killer who was at Chicago. I forget his name because there's so many of them, but they caught him, and you could see the whole thing unfold. They caught him, got out of his car, he was laid on the ground, and they picked him up without a scratch after he went on the run. After killing 6 people, injuring 30 at the parade there in Chicago. So I too have a problem with there are good cops. I just don't think there's enough of them to make a difference, or at least there hasn't been.
The whole cop thing, I have mixed feelings because I've been pulled over so many damn times, I can't even count. And how many times I've been pulled over, I can't even count it. I know the whole systemic thing with police officers, yes, that is true. From the top up, they are, I don't want to say trained, but it just comes from the top. They see Black people as a threat. 1, 2. And there's no consequences for killing Black people. We have this conversation all the time. This guy got murdered by the cops. He shot 20 times, 40 times, 50 times. Taisha Miller was killed down the street, like a block away from me, my office. Taisha Miller, the girl was killed in the gas station, sleep with a gun in her lap, and these idiot cops tapped the window. She got a gun in her lap. What you think she gonna do when she wake up, fool? She got a gun in her lap for a reason. So there's 2 things. One, my issue with cops is they're not trained well. You take some of these guys off the street and they don't go through mental toughness. They don't go through none of these training. They just get these aggressive dudes that slap the shit out of their wives, a lot of them, and they give them a weapon. We need to address that. 2 Black people, it needs to be a consequence for killing Black people. There's no consequence for killing Black people. That's the fucking problem. Because we don't have no fucking money. We don't have no power. So people sitting up here, money is the root of all evil. But you at a funeral, you on the corner with a sign says, yo, this person got shot. We need to raise money for him. We need to build our relationship with money. Like we need to be in a threesome. You, your spouse, and your money. Matter of fact, most of y'all in a threesome. It's a jacked up threesome. Threesome is going bad. Ain't no oil involved. Because the money is not right. I'm telling you, if you take a couple that is working on their money, even if it's not perfect, but they're working on it together, they are stronger. It is hard to walk up into a household and screw with them when they're on their money together. You understand what I'm saying? We need to be the same way with money. They murder a black kid, and the world freezes. Black people just say, whoa, we're not spending a dime. We're not getting on the bus. We hold your money, black people. K-Swiss, Nike, Adidas, whoever, Louis, Gucci, De Beers, who was one of the diamond people that they are so wrapped up into the slave trade, it will blow your mind if you do the research on it. But black people, diamonds on my neck, diamonds on my wrist, diamonds in my teeth. But I don't hear nobody saying, I got property over here, I got tenants over there. It's always, I got diamonds on my neck. Man, the moment we make taking care of ourselves as fly, as having on some cool clothes or diamonds in my teeth or my neck or whatever it is you do, they won't be able to shoot us like that because we'll have power. That's why you can't shoot an Asian like that. You can't shoot an Asian in the street no more. I mean, not that it was practice, I don't know, but like, you saw how fast Asians got power. Boom. Asian gets slapped around, not murdered, beat up. Just beat up. We got an Asian hate bill. Because they got the damn money. And period. What's Michael talking about? We disagree with you. Black people's job is, I don't know. Again, it's okay to give to the community. Give to yourself first. Stop using giving to the community as an excuse not to take care of yourself. It kills me how many of you people go to church, give money, and you don't have shit in your bank account. You trying to tell me that you represent a God that wants you to, and I've heard preachers say this, oh, give us the rent money, God will make a way. That's a goddamn lie. You're going to be stressed the hell out until you get your next paycheck. So I've heard ministers say this. Oh, just give. The water bill, the God will take care of you. You're going to be showering at the neighbor's house. Or you're going to have your orange extension cord plugged into your neighbor's because you gave your electricities, put it in the bucket. Do not put your rent money in the bucket. That should be a shirt. When our relationship with money is so strong that you have to separate it like a piece of chicken from a hungry man. When we get to that point, we will be stronger. And you won't be able to kill us or murder us. But y'all got Jesse Jackson, who actually started off as a good dude, and then he got twisted by it. He got twisted all up, him and Al Sharpton. You have these dudes that start out right, and they get tempted by the power of the dark side. You know what I'm saying? So, man, make money. How about just one time we make money the front line? That's it. And you know how the hood gets fixed? You fix yourself. What up, girl? Hey, Tatum. You fix yourself. Fix yourself. Just try it. Start with that. You get $10, you put $1 away, or damn your future. Because, like, what's the use of going to heaven if you living in hell the whole time you're here? I don't understand. And again, when it comes to white supremacy and racism, believe me, I understand white supremacy and racism. I grew up in Santa Barbara, Ventura. I lived in me and my sister would tell you, we lived in some of the whitest neighborhoods. Believe me, I understand. I had to punch several people in the face at school over racism. So because I don't lean on it, I don't use white supremacy as the fear of an excuse not to do shit with myself. Don't be confused. I understand both sides of, the white coin, so to speak. You understand what I'm saying? But I don't leave that as an excuse for me not to do shit. Do you understand what I'm saying? And honestly, when we want to keep it real, I've learned some of the most important things for my life financially from people, from white people, from Mexican people, from black, from all people. It wasn't just black people. I've got help from everybody. So I think we need to take that out of the conversation because it ain't gonna change. White people that hate black people ain't gonna have a kumbaya moment. And if they do, like Dee said, when it comes time to pick a side, they're gonna pick their own. Just like we are. I have one of my buddies, white friend of mine. We were close. We had a rap group called Two Tone. Guess which one was the black one? He's a white dude. And we were joking around. And we watched Mississippi Burning. Me, my buddy John Wolfob, Kenny, a bunch of us. And I remember hating my friend. I wanted to whoop his ass. And he asked me a question, something along the lines of, if the tables would turn, would you have slaves? And I had to think about it for a second. Like, I don't know. The question caught me off guard. So anyways, going back to center. Let's take care of us. And you'd be surprised how fast racism will fall as far as being in your face when you take care of yourself more. I guarantee you, I pulled up to nice hotels, Ritz-Carltons, and I know they're like, look at this nigga getting out of this Range Rover. But they got to treat me a certain way because I bring Mr. Green back. I know I've been in places where they're racist, but they respect that dollar. And when we respect the dollar, we will be in power. And Shashamine, I hope I'm saying your name right. Go back to her comment. Can you real quick? This is Shashamine. Again, I hope I'm saying your name right. You are correct. You take a tree with no roots and you push it over, it's going to fall. That is us. We don't know our roots. Like my sister's the one that educated me. Mansa Musa was the richest man to ever lived. I was thinking about that today when I was scrubbing my lake house. Like, damn, I wonder if Mansa Musa had to scrub. But I know it's cool to own some shit to scrub. You understand what I'm saying? So we need to start thinking like that. In our history, we were powerful. Some of the things that we've done as a people are unimaginable, how strong we are, but we don't understand that. When you understand what we've done for us as a race, even financially, like, man, you have some black powerhouses in the past. But we don't spend enough time focusing on that. And you guys, by the way, most of those black leaders, real leaders, most of those people that had power influence growing up, coming up through the 50s, 60s, they were all Republican, most of them. You realize the Democrats did not bring in a black senator or congressman, one of those, until number 22? Think about that. So I don't know where that came from. It just, the word came to me to tell you that. But I'm telling you, black people, if we end this conversation about money and just put money away, you get $1, put 10 cents away. I don't care where you put it. Just put it in the bank, leave it. Do you guys know right now, Uber is trading at almost $20? This is a $60 stock that is trading at $20. You know, Amazon's trading at 100.
Really?
100. Well, because it split 20 to 1.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
So it went from 20 to 1. So it went from 200 to 100. Amazon is down 50% this year. 50%. Uber is down. So, 6:30 California time, 8:30 Houston time, 9:30 New York, the stock market opens, and every morning I wake up now and go, oh shit, what's Uber doing? What's Rivian doing? Oh snap, I have a short on Toll Brothers. I'm getting my ass kicked right now because the stock is going up. but I know the housing market is about to take a huge dive. Those are the conversations we should be having. Yo, Pookie and them is going to do what they're going to do. Why don't we talk about the money? That's what I'm talking about. And Tatum, I saw your question about the 501c. My sister would tell you how I feel about 501c's. I think having a 501c is good. And I know why a lot of people do them, because there's grants and stuff. Get the grants and take care of you so you can take care of the people. But there is nothing wrong with being, see, 501c's, I think people are under the impression that, oh, we get all this money coming in. Actually, I don't know why people do 501c's, to be honest.
It's nonprofits.
I mean, it's a nonprofit.
You have a lot of, tax exemptions and things like that. Well, and it's, you get donations and grants.
Yeah, that works. But as a working for the 501c, you take a paycheck, that is taxable. Mm-hmm. You can believe that.
Yeah.
You run a 501c, you get paid, you paying tax. So I say start a profitable C and then open a 501c in the process. And gold is a good hedge against inflation. Gold is. You can watch historically where gold will perform in these type of markets. So it's good to hold gold. It's a holding asset. It ain't gonna really move a lot, but it's a good hedge. So again, I don't have a nonprofit, and I don't think that I ever will. I think I prefer to have a profitable business and then donate to those people in need. Like Verbal Herb, my clothing line, we will donate 5 to 10% of every dollar of profit to someone in need. Right, so I would prefer to do that. That way I have, what up, Darius? I'm gonna call you, answer the phone, man. Actually, you call me when it's over. Right? I like Darius, man. He send these big giant texts like this and that, and like with a paragraph, comma, like italics, the whole thing. I'm like, no misunderstanding there. This is brother Darius. Yeah, he's one of my clients. His financial game is on the move. So, here's the thing, you guys. You can you can invest in whatever. I just said earlier, I don't care where you put it. I don't care stocks, annuities. The reason I don't invest in annuities because they don't pay shit. That's why I don't put money there. And they lock up your money forever. Right? So that's why I'm not a fan of annuities. Do they work for some people? Sure. Like I don't do CDs because they don't really pay you. And my liquid money I like to do other stuff with. But it doesn't matter. Put your money somewhere. And this waiting to invest in Africa, get yourself straight first so Africa will deal with what Africa will want you. Because I can tell you, some of those African countries, my girl, like one of my close dogs, Jocelyn, she, like my homegirl, 50 grand, she went to Ghana and she was like, whoa, it's nice over here. She was like, Ghana is like, don't believe the Jungle Book shit you hear. She was like, Ghana is, some of those African nations, they have so much money.
Oh, yeah.
They do extremely well.
Do you have the answer to this?
Can we get on the, I don't know anything about the African Stock Exchange. I don't know much about the American Stock Exchange, and I was a stockbroker for 10 years. I still don't know much about it. So I think, again, invest where you are. You guys, getting familiar with the U.S. stock market will take you 6 lifetimes. There are analysts on TV, they don't even understand all the markets. But the thing is to get in and start putting money away, right? And Wall Street never did anything for black people. That is not true.
Black needy
disagree
people.
With you.
Not black needy people.
Huh?
It says black needy people.
That is not true. That is false. Wall Street has done a lot for needy black people. It has. The problem is we don't trumpet it like we do everything else. You telling me for $100, you can buy a black needy kid could sell a pair of his Nikes, or his Yeezys, because it's funny how black needy kids always have Yeezys, Nikes, gold, Adidas, and all these things. How can you be needy with a pair of Yeezys? That's a whole nother podcast. Take those pair of Yeezys, and I think Kanye would be cool with this. take the money from the pair of Yeezys and put your money in the stock market. I'm just saying that maybe the stock market's not everything. I'm just saying pick a lane. Right now, that's just something that I'm just starting to dabble in again. Like, the matter of fact, I would beg to differ that the stock market is a great place for needy kids, poor kids. You tell me you take a little poor kid and you teach him stocks, bonds, and real estate, or you teach him the stock market and you give him 5 years of educating him on how stock markets work. And like right now, it's July. So all these companies are reporting earnings for their second quarter, and you have the ability to take a gamble if they're going to miss earnings. Should you short with options, or should you bet that they're going to hit earnings and buy call options to make money on the way up? You tell him you educate that poor needy black kid for 5 years on that game, and he's not going to be better? Come on, y'all. I tell you for a fact. And D, you know this. Me and D, I fight with D all the time about doing certain things. I took $200 and put stock options. That was this last week, and I turned it into $500. $200 and then $500.
Absolutely.
So miss me with that stuff. You guys stop beating up the wrong monster.
Well, we're gonna get on out of here because I know you got something to do.
I got things to do.
You got things to do. So we appreciate y'all for being here on this Wednesdays with Walter, Wealth Wednesdays with Walter. Always a great and insightful discussion. We do have a Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, or become a channel member. Simply like the video. That helps the channel as well. We will be back here on Sunday with Donovan on the DemetraKaye Show. And look for my videos throughout the week. And it has been our pleasure. So thank y'all, YouTube and Facebook, the other side of the conversation. Walter, thank you as well for being here. He's here in Houston, but, here with us on this show. And so you guys, please do have a great rest of the day. Stay cool and all of that. And we will see y'all later. Peace.